the work I do, I want to inspire people to be creative themselves and to think about their talent. And I want to introduce the Tom Lohner that I am. I just want to say, hey, I want to tell them, hey, if I can do that, you can do it too.
Welcome to the Flying Football, a platform dedicated to the discussion and exploration of art in the creative process. In today's episode, I had the chance to talk to the incredible Tom Lohner. Tom is an artist I've been following for a while now, so getting the chance to talk to him was a huge honour for me. For those that don't know, Tom is an artist from Austria who creates highly stylized geometrical portraits of famous people and characters from his imagination. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Tom, and I really hope you do too. So, the best place to start is to start with everybody. So tell us a bit about yourself and your work, and how you became an artist.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me on the Flying Football tonight. I painted. I started painting and drawing with the age of, as far as I can think. So I really didn't do anything else than that. That was my passion, and still is my passion. And I had a hard time in school. So instead of learning all the vocabs in my English dictionary, so I just painted on the sides of my textbooks and everything. And with me also having I grew up in partially in America and in Florida I went kindergarten. I went to kindergarten there. I think it's like preschool or so, with the age of 3 till the age of 5.5 or so, and then coming back to Austria, it was hard for me to accumulate and to be like normal, because I had so many experiences, and there were so many kids in my age that couldn't really that didn't get what I wanted to tell them. So long story short, it wasn't easy for me to get friends. So I kind of went into my fantasy world, and I just painted. I spent time just being at home. So that was my I don't know,
escape, I guess.
What's the word for it? Escape. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was my. That's true. Yes, it was my escape into my freedom, into my world. So that's my background, and with that background, I always wanted to become a painter, somebody who could really live from doing art, and I knew it was hard, and I never counted on really becoming a successful painter, but I always wished for it, and I never really gave up on it, although I knew it was hard to get there. But I thought, if other people can do it, why can't I? But I went into I finished school. I did my studies as a graphic designer, so I have something like a bachelor degrees in graphic design, and then my brother and I we went to London to boost our careers, and we thought, what, if we Austrians, if we go to London, we will, people will have jobs for us everywhere, because we have this stranger bonus. We are the Austrian dudes. So we came to London, and in London, nobody really knew who we were, and it was really hard to get into to get clients. So what I did is I jumped from agency to agency and worked my way all the way up, and that's really a very long story, very short. And but it was really cool, because it added the spice of me learning how to work really hard and on deadlines. And in the end, because I stayed in London for 4 years, and in the end, like the last 2 years, I was art director for a graphic design studio in London. And let me think. And then I came back to Austria. I opened my own graphic design studio with my brother, and with another guy from Spain, who was the former art director of Volcom. So he was a really like a super talent. And just a second, my manager. Pardon me. I came back from Austria after being in London. Yeah, sorry, it's my manager over there, and I just I just peeked over there, and he always goes like, Tom, what's he saying? What's he saying? So no, but no, it's all cool. I came back from London. I had my design studio here, went very well, and then I met that guy, and then I met him. All right, and Klaus is a marketing guru, I would say, and he's the guy who made businesses really big in Dubai. And he was on a short stay in Austria as well. And I just came back here, and he said, "Hey, your work is really cool. Don't you want to live from art?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I'd like to live from art. But like, who buys my art? How can I sell my work to other people?" And he said, "You know what? Let's just focus on half a year on art." The main thing he told me was, you should really just focus on art and not on art and graphic design. You have to do one thing 100%, and if you do that well, maybe it works. And if it doesn't work, focusing on art, you can always still go back to being a graphic designer after half a year. So he invested half a year, I invested half a year of my time into art and creating the best work that I could ever create. And well, I sold out my first show. Because people kind of got a hold that this graphic designer Tom focused on art now, and they knew that it was kind of cheaper to buy work from me right now than later on. So the show was actually, in short, sold out before it opened actually, and then I had a waiting list of people wanting to buy artworks from me, and it's been going on like this since 5 years, and it's just luckily the demand is only increasing and the price is increasing, and honestly the fun is increasing as well, because the more I work, the better I get, and you never stop to learn, and I always try new things, and that is my biography within, I don't know, these 10 minutes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, that's actually really interesting. It's really interesting to hear that. Actually, there's quite a lot of luck involved in terms of you being where you are now.
I think,
that's pretty interesting to think about, because I think a lot of people consider artists to be like a one-man show, and it's really not. It's actually a lot more than that. Can you talk about this? What kind of skills do you think is important for an artist to have?
I think it's 4 things. I mean, with the art itself, there's so many things that you have to focus on. But the first thing is, I think your work has to be very unique. I think you have to create something where people go, the people go, "Oh yeah, this is a Tom Lohner. Oh yeah, he's the guy who does the big eyes, and he does the symmetric lines, and he does spaces, and he works. He has this Art Deco influence." Something like that, maybe, or Damien Hirst. Oh yeah, the guy with the dots. Or Rothko. Oh, the guy with the squares. Or Picasso. Everything is just Picasso style. So I think number 1, you have to have your unique style. I think number 2 is you have to be proud of your work, and you have to sell it authentically, very well. So you have to there's no shame in saying, "Hey, you know what? The work I do, I really like it. And this is the stuff I do. I'm so proud of it. So here is what I do." So that contains, number 2 contains all the stuff like social media, meeting with PR people, and trying to exhibit everywhere as much as you can. And then, of course, later on, finding the right places to get to the right people. So, and then number 3 is meeting the right people. But you only meet the right people, in my concern, when you accomplish number 2. You have to sell it. You have to bring it to the people. You have to speak to everybody. Sorry, another guy just leaving. Big team over here. So you have to. You just have to. I think you have to be as good as a marketer as well as a crafter if you want to live from your work while living your life. And then number 4, is probably being patient, because I painted my entire life, and then only 5 years ago, everything just shifted. And these are my personal four ingredients. Of course, there's so many other things. You should never stop to learn, to appreciate other people's work, and to try to get better and better, and to try new things. And there's so many other things, but these four rules are just, the rules that worked for me. Probably there are other things as well. So many other things that can make people or artists successful, but in terms of how to live from your work, I don't know. It always worked very well for me, but who knows what the future beholds for me.
Very true.
Yeah,
Good things I see. That's what I see.
I hope so too. I hope
Oh
for
no,
you
very
too.
much so. I can only imagine, to be honest. I genuinely only imagine. I mean that honestly. I can only imagine it'd be good things.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. I mean, also, right now at this point of this conversation, I also have to give a big cheers back to you, because I think my manager and we checked out the flying football a lot, and the work and the artists you feature is the quality level is so high.
Thank you very much.
And I have to give back the compliment to you. And also, I honestly, I just wanted to know, like, just very briefly in short, how did you get started in to do what you do right now?
Oh, I've always loved looking at art, and I do photography myself.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm
mm-hmm,
kind of
mm-hmm,
involved in art. At this moment in time, I'm not doing any photography at the minute. It's something I
mm-hmm,
actually did. I actually started it a long time ago, like probably about a good 10 years ago when I was a student, because I had a lot of spare
mm-hmm.
time and I had internet connection and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then I quit it for like a long time because I focused on photography and stuff. But then recently,
Mm-hmm,
last year, I've been doing it like fully now for a year.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm,
I just started back
mm-hmm,
up last year because it's fun. Like I enjoy it. It's like, it's giving back. I think art's super important, and I think we don't talk. There's not. You see art.
mm-hmm,
There's a big disconnect between the public and artists, I feel, and I
mm-hmm,
think that it's
mm-hmm,
nice
mm-hmm.
to have some kind of middle ground where you hear about the artist and you hear about the creative process and what it means to
Yes.
actually be an artist, because I think it's very like mystified.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really why I
Yeah.
create it. Like I do it all at the minute. I do it all completely for free. I don't make
Yeah.
any
I
money off
know. I
it.
know. There's so much
Um,
time that goes into
it's a
that.
lot because I have a full-time job as well, so it's a lot of time.
I thought so. Like,
But
what you do for a living for
oh,
real?
I just work in retail, so working at a hardware store.
All
Um,
right.
so
That's good too. Something
it's
has to pay the bills.
absolutely, and I love it. Like I wouldn't quit it anytime soon, but like
Yeah.
who knows
Hmm.
what will happen in the future? Because
I think
yeah,
you're at a very interesting point right now, in a very interesting time in the world of arts. I mean, maybe you feel it as well, but everything is shifting and everything started to change, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and now with this crisis going on, everything is becoming more crazy even as we speak. So it's really cool because you get to meet people
exactly,
easier than
absolutely.
in other times. Hmm.
Absolutely. And actually, that brings me to the next question really well,
Yes.
actually. So, like, do you feel
Mhm.
like you're part of an art community, a larger art community at least?
Yes. I at first at first I was a bit shy to get in to get involved in the whole scene, because I admire so many artists. Wow, there's so many good people out there. Greg Crayola Simpkins, a whole bunch of French artists that are my pleasure to meet. But I came. I wandered into this community of artists all over the globe, but now connected with internet very well and stuff. And I wandered in while my times as while still being a designer, because I was a designer for snowboard brands, for Liptech, Lamar, Burton also, and I met a couple of back then very famous painters for me at art fairs. No, the ISPO, the Winter Sport convention in Munich, and there were these people that I really adored, and I thought like, oh wow, they are godlike people. Wow, and oh, he speaks to me, and then I had a possibility to see them paint live, and then we hung out after the art fair. So I kind of got into that circle of Nikola Thomas and Nicodeme, artists who in like in the graffiti and snowboard art scene, they're big numbers, and I got to meet them, and they were normal people as I was, which was cool. And with now also being officially an artist and a painter, because magazines write about it, Tom Lohner is the artist. So now slowly I also believe that I really am a painter who lives from that. Sometimes it's still very surreal with everything that happens. Um, but but then you really meet. I met Greg Crayola Simpkins. We had an hour of conversation on Skype, and I write back and forth with people that I'm such a fan of, and they give me compliments back, and that is such an honor, and I will never take it for granted, never. But it yes, it feels that I am now also part of a interesting thing out there, a small part in this whole complex universe we call art.
And how has the current pandemic actually affected you and your work?
Actually, honestly, strangely, kind of positive. Actually, I feel that there's always demand for my work. Luckily, and I hope that it won't change. But now with the pandemic, uh, I know that, or we feel with, um, I feel with my work that people really want to invest in art more than they did before. They don't want to have the money on the account, on the bank account. They want to have it in something real that they can feel. And we also have this huge gallery with what's it, 12,000 square feet of space, which is gigantic. So we're the largest gallery in our country, in Austria, our
Wow,
small
that's impressive.
country, large gallery. And thanks. And we represent really good artists as well, also from the UK, Mr. Frivolous and Bael. And we also sell a lot more work than we did last year, actually. I mean, so yes, we sell a lot, but the conventions and the international art fairs, they were all, they are all postponed, even though some are paid already. So we feel that there's a lot of money out there which we paid for already, but we know that it's not, it's not canceled right now. It's just postponed. So, well, and with the pandemic and art fairs being a bit more quiet, I do have more time to focus on uh, my art. I have better output, I would say. Yeah.
That's good. That's a lot of artists have actually said that to me, so that's pretty good.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hope so. I mean,
yeah.
that's happened.
It's,
I know other artists, they suffer, but I'm
like I say,
lucky.
a lot of artists I've spoken to, actually, the demand has increased, which is a good
Hmm.
thing. I think that's also the great thing about being an artist right now, is that like actually you do have a little bit, you may have a little bit more time and a little bit more eye on your work. So take
Yes.
advantage of the situation, because it's not going to last forever.
No. I feel exactly the same way. Yeah, I think if you with Corona, a whole big wheel is turning, and the whole wheel kind of feels bad when you look at all the news, right? But with this big wheel, there are also small little wheels that turn as well. And I think you have to find your own little small wheel, which is very, very positive. And if you find something new within this whole time of change right now, you can, I think it's, you can do whatever you want. I mean, if you survive this pandemic, it will spit you out much higher than you were when the whole thing
Yeah,
started. Yeah.
I agree. So let's talk about your work,
Hmm.
and specifically your style. So
Hmm.
you have a very, very distinctive style, like very distinctive style.
Thank
So
you.
how did you arrive to that style?
I'm a big fan of Salvador Dali. I'm a big fan of Walt Disney, Tim Burton, the macabre stuff. I like the voodoo cult and this Mexican cult as well, with this festival with ghost-like figures running around in the city and these big eyes. So big eyes was always a theme for me. And then I remember in 2010, I um, I forgot I forgot, crayons and colored pencils. Was it 2010? Maybe it was even 2009 or so. And I was at a friend's place, and the only thing I had was a pen. And I really I had such an urge to draw something cool. So I drew a figure again in my style. So naturally, lines always occurred, and I also had this, and now how to put this in words. What I want to say is, instead of painting spaces with a color, I had this pen and I just marked them like, this area is all thin lines, this area is all circles, this area is all little things. So I had more and more elements in this one painting than I ever had in all other paintings, and I really constructed an entire artwork in that way over an afternoon. So I think it was kind of like a key piece or so. And with that key piece, I remember it was two skulls with a nuclear bomb in the middle. But with this key piece, I thought, you know what? You really have to have this number one thing I always told you about. Yeah, you really have to have a distinct style, because I until then, I did not know what was my style. I just knew that I liked to paint. Then I thought, you know what? Let's dig into this one drawing a little bit deeper. And I'm super honest here with you. I think I never explained my process in that specific way than with you right now. So this is a premiere, but it's really interesting. And then, well, to me at least. And but then I thought, you know what? I like these little elements that I have. Now let's also let's think about these eyes. It's skulls already, but what if I go more into this Tim Burton direction? So I thought, you know what? Let's just enlarge these eyes, and instead of eyes, let's just put something else in there. Let's just make big holes, because big holes are spooky. I want to create something where people go, where they can't look away. They have to look at this whole thing without it being over spooky. Probably that's the word, or macabre. So it kind of that was the start of the whole thing, and then it just evolved over time. And I said, I'm still not not at the end of my journey. There's still so much more that will happen. But I also experienced with painting over materials and having a third dimension that I just paint over. So I like to incorporate real fabric in my artwork. I just paint over with, yeah.
So what about the subject matter? Because you paint a lot of famous people, for instance.
Yes.
So how did you decide upon doing that?
Interesting. Well, I think it started with Hard Rock Cafe. I had an exhibition in London that was the sold out show that I had. We did prints of it. I exhibited them in London at at a cool location. Let's put it that way. And then I invited Mark Carey to that show. Mark Carey back then was the marketing manager of Hard Rock Cafe Europe, and we were good friends from my London days. And he said, and I knew that he liked my work. And he said, Tom, come on, we have to do something together. And he always said that. And I knew that he would ask me that question or tell me that. So I had already something pulled up. I said, oh yeah, rock and roll people in my work. I think that would go really well. By coincidence, I have the sketch here of David Bowie transforming into a cheetah. I did that on the airplane on the way to London because I knew that I would meet him. So I showed him that, and he said, oh yeah, cool, let's do rock and roll stars in your style. And I said, yeah, well, that's such a good idea, Mark. And he said, yeah, I really do have a good idea. I said, yes, you have a good idea there. And and then he said, yeah, well, who would it be? And so it was just the whole thing with these rock stars. So I wanted to do a series of 10 rock stars. It was so popular that the series contained 13 rock stars that were sold out very fast again. And with that subject matter, I also met a couple of these famous people and I got good feedback as well. Of course, that's good. You know, you're a fan of, let's say, Shirley Manson of Garbage, a band that I listen to quite a lot, and you know, and suddenly again, you know, you meet these people on Instagram and they write back and forth, and their manager order prints and whatever. So it was kind of fun. And then Now, sometimes, occasionally, actually, famous people order portraits of themselves done in my style. So that is an honor again. Yeah, like Schwarzenegger, Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, really interesting.
That's
Yeah,
good though. That's good though. That's good.
it's fun.
But do you think that by creating pictures of famous people, it's more accessible to the general public? And actually, do you think it might hinder your work in a way?
Now, I think painting famous people has come for me to something like an end right now. I mean, I still, yeah, it was fun, and it really, of course, I won't stop doing that. But it's just something, yes, where people say, oh yeah, this is a very cool interpretation of a person that I already know. So they see my work, and they at the same time they know, oh, that guy looks like that, and Tom Lohner version, he looks like that. Oh, that is very funny, ha ha ha. And so it's a good start. But honestly, I focus on so many other things right now that are really more creative than only painting somebody who is well known. And also with painting these famous, like these rock stars, with painting rock stars, I wouldn't have just had fun to paint them. So I had also the theme of them being transformed into animals. So that gave me another element. So that gave another element of interest and difficulty to it, because it's just easy to paint somebody. I wanted to think about the animal that this person could transform into, and then I combined number one, number two, and then Marilyn Manson, who had rabbit ears, for example, something like that.
So actually, getting into some more of your personal work, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. I want to talk to you about the Revelation Mural you did. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about
of
that?
Course. No, that was really cool, because I did a mural 6 years ago, and it's always fun to paint walls, because it's just another scale of work. Because sometimes, you have to paint or draw something very small. Sometimes there's a big canvas you paint on, which is fun too. And then you have walls, and painting on walls is just another dimension. It's not a small brush, it's a bigger brush, much bigger than this one. And when painting on such a canvas, of course, when you start, you wander back. Some people project the work onto the wall, which is totally cool, because you're just faster with painting it. But that specific wall, I also beam my work onto big walls normally. But in that specific case, there wasn't any space for me to put up a beamer, so I did everything just freehand. I had a sketch, and then freestyle the whole thing. So at the start, you freestyle some lines onto that big wall, and then you walk back, and you walk towards it and walk back again. But then you just figure out that you lose too much time with walking back all the time. So what happened with me was, I felt that it was within the painting, and that is a beautiful feeling. After about a time of an hour and a half, you are in this. I'm not a druggy person or so, but I guess it's just like being on drugs. I felt as if I was the painting, and I exactly knew when I did a line like that what it would look like stepping back 10, 20 meters back. So what I want to say is, painting an artwork like that makes you feel like being one within the world that you paint, which is beautiful. So that's the process. The story to it is also kind of fun, because I wanted to paint a wall in Vienna already some time ago, and then I had a friend who owned this boutique hotel that the wall is on right now. It's really prominent in the city center of Vienna, and we got a lot of PR from it, because it's a very old building. And then there was also Rose McGowan's manager, Andrew, who I had contact with. And Rose McGowan, she's an actress that I really admire. A very cool personality. She started the Me Too movement with Harvey Weinstein Klaus, the producer. So yeah, so she started this entire movement. But I just like her as a person. She's such a cool dude, if I can say dude. She's not a dude, but she's a cool person. And I thought, you know what? Instead of just painting two people in this big mural, I just ask her if she wants to be part of it. So I had told about the opportunity. We brainstormed the concept back and forth because there was a Corona theme, and kind of like a religious Corona theme with two personalities, two figures. They pray for a cure, and one of them was Rose McGowan. And Rose said, you know what, if I'm one of these people, I would like to have Kurt Russell as my counterpart, as the other person, because he's such a good friend of mine. I want to have him within the painting. So that's how the theme of the painting kind of was set there. We wrote back and forth. She had some infos, I put them in, and then 2 weeks of painting time went by very fast, and suddenly there was this big mural there, and it's still there, still unmarked, which is very cool.
That's very good. And how do you think the art impacted the environment?
Very positive. It is already a very creative area. It's very close to the Museum of Modern Art, which is really good for my work there, and the house itself, it had some tags on it before, just right where I put my painting, and the owner he also intended for me to paint over that so that the house is safe, and I wasn't sure that it'd be tagged because I painted over a couple of famous tags, but I also incorporated a small little sign where it's a kind of sign. I incorporated something where it says, I really admire the people that were there, and with all due respect, this is my painting, and it's just, you know, a symbol for something that stands for the stuff that you do. So I think they took it very well, and the entire environment areas, yeah, they appreciate it a lot, really, which is good too.
Have you painted any more walls since?
Yes, I really did. I just painted a wall opposite of our gallery, because we are in the meat packaging district over here, just like in New York, and this entire district is being changed right now. There's so many startup companies that move into this area. So I was also commissioned by a real estate owner to paint the wall just opposite of our gallery, and I was allowed to do whatever I ever wanted to do. So I painted three dancing pairs dancing tango, and the women are beautiful, and the male and the man dancer, they have animal heads on again, and I painted that with another very good artist, Mike Potzinger, who I'm a fan of, but he's one of the greatest tattoo artists we have in our country. So that was fun too.
That's really, really cool. Another image I want to talk about is your electricity image.
Oh, thanks.
I'm a huge fan of that image. Yeah, can you talk a bit about the image itself, and actually the idea of using, you know, embedded objects into your work? Because I think that's something that I don't see that often, and I was super impressed when I saw it. So, yeah.
Well, you make me blush, because I'm first of all, your English is so good. I really gotta get into my English again, and second of all, thanks for the compliment, because that is also a very important piece for me. I don't know, it's just I finished that painting actually rather fast. I did it because it's really big in scale, and I finished it so fast because I couldn't get my hands off it, because it was just so fun to paint it. And yes, it's so cool not to just paint on the surface of a canvas, but to paint on embedded three-dimensional objects, and then embedding these objects within this big painting. So I'm just looking at it over there. I mean, it's sold, but it's still. I can show you the original piece is still over there.
That's just amazing. Like,
well, thanks.
If I had the space and probably the money, like, I would totally have that, like, somewhere.
And if it wasn't sold, and you would really deserve it, and you really deserve it. Yeah, it was really fun painting it, because I thought, you know what, I want to paint something strong and beautiful at the same time. And I'm a big fan of Art Nouveau movement that kind of went into Art Deco later on, and I wanted to paint something like a figure, almost holy goddess like. And I thought, you know what, I'll just paint the goddess of electricity. I'll just paint that. What would that look like? And then one of my collectors, I know that he has access to a lot of what's the word, antique subjects, antique things. So I had this, I don't know the English word for it actually, but it's like the counter machine that counts how much electricity you use.
There's a word for it, but I have no idea what it is.
Very good. I'm happy that there's also a hole in the vocabs. And he brought me one of these machines from 1952, and I mounted that into the painting and a couple of other things. I had a rough sketch, really only rough, just a couple of lines, and then everything else just happened on that canvas. And at first it was just, it was just the middle part. And I looked at it. I had it painted already very rough, and I looked at it, and also my manager Klaus, we stood next to each other, and we had the same thought. He said, "This is really cool," and then I finished his sentence, and I said, "But wouldn't it be cool to make it a triptych, like a three-piece?" I just wanted to say the same thing. So I added two other walls to it and just enlarged it, and now it's this massive, beautiful thing. And the and the electricity corporation of our country bought it, and they want to, which is good. It's PR again.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they got a hold of it. They are very they're art fans, art collectors, and they want to put it into the entry hall of one of the new buildings, which are architectural beauty. So again, that's a great honor for me to be in there.
It's kind of also really interesting because how your work's been put inside buildings, and it's kind of the correlation between the geometric lines in your work and of the buildings they're within. That's quite interesting as well.
Yeah,
for me, that's interesting just to think about that, and the way that your work is about space and encompassed within space as well. That's pretty interesting. And actually, would you ever consider using architecture within your work?
Architecture within, yes, of course. I actually wanted to become an architect before studying graphic design. I studied architecture for almost a year, but then they told me that I'm just not capable of working with numbers, and that is a little bit tricky when you want to become an architect. So I married an architect. My wife is an architect, and she is a great architect. So incorporating architecture in my work is something, I think it happens already in some ways, because I use arrows, and I love like just symmetrical elements. Yeah, and or do you mean something else with the question?
No, I mean both. I mean that, and also like actually just including more buildings and more kind of landscapes into your work.
Oh, that
as well.
Landscapes and architecture is very interesting right now, but I think I'll do that for sure. And when you say just when you mentioned that, it triggered something in my head right away, where I do actually see a really interesting architecture Tom Lohner style artwork right now in red, white, and black, from a very interesting angle. It would be cool to paint that.
So. I want to see you design a building. That's what I want to see.
What, you want me to design a building?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
No, that would be awesome. My wife and I, we actually discussed that. We discussed that theme of it already very often. How we can like morph our talents, and that's actually how we met. So maybe something like that will happen very soon. I actually, now that we talk about that, I actually designed something that wasn't built yet because it's just too super expensive, but it's a new interpretation of one of the old arches that we have in our ancient city. And it would be fun to produce it. It's it's actually calculated through already, and it has real Tom Lohner sculptures within the building. It's very mighty, and it's an arch, like the Arch de Triomphe in France, in Paris, just Tom Lohner style. I would say. who knows? Who knows what the future beholds? I'm in this business only since 5 years, so hey, I
So
still
yeah,
have
that's
a couple
true.
of more years in front of me.
Actually, that's an interesting question. Have you ever made a sculpture?
No, yes, in school, but
But I mean, like
I
now, like within your career now.
no, not really. But the demand is there already. I have collectors that ask me, "Hey, Tom, like when will you put out your first sculpture, or is there something like a toy, like these
Yeah, I was gonna say,
toys
yeah,
that
sorry.
come out, these collectibles?" So it's something that I actually discussed with manufacturers already, and it's something that I really want to produce actually within the next year.
And that's actually really interesting that the demand is there before you create it. That's quite special actually, because normally people create stuff and then try to get people engaged. But actually,
Yeah,
your career is the opposite way around, which actually is a very good position for you.
it is. It is. It
Um,
is. I'm just so lucky. Yeah, it
yeah, very
kind of
much so.
like
But then it's also because you put the work in, clearly, because it doesn't happen to everybody, does it? So there must be a
yeah.
reason why it's happening to you.
I guess I'm very lucky, and I'm just so passionate about the whole thing. So maybe there's no other way around it.
That's true. That's very true. And actually, that moves me along very well onto my next question, which is your work is so the interesting thing about your work that I've realized, and like a lot of people, that your art is very accessible. So, for instance, like I've got it here. What is it? The satellite fauna chairs, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
stuff like that, like having your work printed onto fabric and onto chairs. That's like I don't see that every day, and I see a lot of art.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is it
Yeah.
important for your work to be accessible to people?
Yes. We think about accessibility beyond the canvas because it is already common that art is on a canvas, and it's still beautiful, and it's great to have an original canvas. Because I collect canvases, I collect other artists as well. But then, yes, if you put the art onto something else, and probably that's my background as well, because I put my art on snowboards and skis, and what else was there? I know, like
The table,
table, for example, just recently.
which that was incredible. Like incredible. You probably saw my comment about that. Was
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. I think
It was
I think I
incredible.
ranked your comment
Yeah,
number 1 or so, because you can do that on Instagram.
I saw it. I
Yeah.
saw it, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah.
But like, that's amazing.
But
Yeah,
again, that table's a company, a very professional company in Salzburg area, Upper Austria, that are very successful with these tables. They pitched that idea to me, and such a table it costs a fortune. It's I think like 10,000 euros, and they said, you know what, let's just produce one together, and you can get that one for free into your gallery, because it's commercial for us too, advertising. And of course, I didn't say no, because I'm in love with that table. That's our.
I didn't even know you could do that though. That's the thing.
Me neither. Me neither. They said.
That's what makes it so like what? Yeah.
You know what? I think it's I think what we do right now is not just, I'm not just a painter. It's more than just painting. This is more like art science that we crave here. Also Klaus, like it's not just marketing. Klaus, what's Forschung in English? No, yeah, what's that in English? The word Forschung. Sorry, he's research. That's the word. Thanks. He's just on his way out to clients again. I had to grab this possibility. Yes, like what we do is, like, I think it's art research. We really try to invent new things in the world of art that have never done that weren't done before. And is it within creating the art, like putting it on tables, painting over things? No, I'm not the first one painting over embedded things in art pieces, but or putting it on chairs or stuff. But then also on the other side, within the marketing, we also research and do new things. We try out new formulas, and most of them actually work. There are just not so many things that don't work, but it's just the crazier the
Have
better.
you ever thought about collaborating with a fashion designer and having like
Well,
printed clothes?
if you have a very good contact there for me within your portfolio, yes, please send them over, because it's something that I'm really pushing on right now, and we are really trying to speak to the craziest people. But I'm actually really thinking right now to pitch I'm thinking of pitching an idea to a major fashion brand because it would be just so fun to have my work on fabric or whatever, and I do have dummy shirts that I created for myself, just for PR reasons. But if a major fashion label or brand takes you on board, it's also that also increases demand of your work again enormous. And Takashi,
Yeah, it's all about connections,
yeah,
making the right kind of connections,
yeah,
and
yeah.
having the product there as well, because
Hmm.
it's all about talking to people. But if you don't have something they could use, they're not going to obviously look at you, are they?
Yeah.
So what kind of responses does your work get, and what kind of conversation do you want to create around it?
That's really fun. Mostly really good comments, really, and it inspires people to. Well, actually, with the work I do, I want to inspire people to be creative themselves and to think about their talents and I want to introduce the Tom Lohner that I am. I just want to say, hey, I want to tell them, hey, if I can do that, you can do it too. So it's a very positive energy, although sometimes my work could be considered dark. But when exhibiting at art fairs, not everybody knows me outside of Austria. So sometimes, I'm also with a third of the company or the bakehouse gallery, the gallery that we own. I'm within that gallery with a third. Thanks. And when we exhibit somewhere outside of Austria, I introduce myself as one of the gallery people, and then I go with them through all the artists, and then I also say, oh yeah, this is Takashi Murakami. I talk about Takashi Murakami, and then they go like, oh, who's that guy? I say, oh, that's Tom Lohner, very successful painter in Austria, blah blah blah. I give them the entire story, and they go, oh, very interesting, very interesting, and then I open my ears because I really want to know what they think about my work, although they don't know that I'm the artist. And it's totally cool if they say, oh no, that's I sometimes I got already feedback, oh no, that's not my style. Oh, that's just too dark. With these big eyes, oh, that's spooky. I couldn't live with that. I couldn't buy that because my wife would kick me out of the apartment or whatever. I very rarely, but sometimes get that feedback, and that's cool too. But most of the feedback is really cool. And then of course, after I'm done with it, we discussed all the artists, and I got a very true feedback about my work from them. Well, I say goodbye, and then with saying goodbye, I say, oh, by the way, the artist Tom Lohner, yeah, and they go, yeah, yeah, so that's me, and then oh, and that's such a surprise.
That's a great idea.
It's so fun. But yes, the artist received very well to my advantage.
That's very good. And how do you manage balancing creating art with having a family as well? I think that's something that's quite important that people don't really talk about a lot.
Kommt gerne rein. It's really fun. I'm such a happy dad. My daughter is 3.5 years old right now, and I'm her superhero. So I when coming home from work, because I'm not the painter or the artist that normally artists are. Like, I don't work from 2 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning. It just doesn't work when you have a family. So I work from Monday to Friday from 8:30 till about 6 p.m. And then sometimes if there's a lot of stuff going on, I just take the small piece of work I take home and paint at home or whatever. But when coming home or picking up my daughter from kindergarten, which I do twice a week, I'm really there for them 100%. It really, I can't think about my job anymore because she's 3.5 years old. She needs 100% of dad right now. So what we do is we paint sometimes with each other, which is cool too. She's also a very young, talented artist. And then my wife, she has such an appreciation for my work that I love her for that so much too. So she also tries to, sometimes if there's a lot of stuff going on, she tries to keep a whole lot of work off my back so I can do my work, something like that. But it's great, actually, my job, because being self-employed, I can also trick my timetables around as I wish sometimes. and sometimes it's just more work than just being employed, I guess. Yeah, because you want to be successful, so you have to push yourself and kick your ass. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got you're your own boss, so if you don't do the work, it's your own fault. There's nobody else kind of guiding you in that respect.
No. I've got Klaus, my manager, who kicks my ass. I kick his ass. Sometimes if it's too stressy, then I have to calm him down. Sometimes he calms me down. Yeah, but it's oh man, it's the last 5 years changed my entire life. Everything is different, and nothing's the same again anymore, and that's good.
No, it's good. That can only be a good thing. If it's in a positive way, it can only be a good thing.
Yes, Aaron. Thank you very much.
So I want to ask you: do you create work for a certain audience, or do you have somebody specific in mind when you create work?
Yes, myself. I really create the work because the work that I want to create for myself, and lucky enough, other people like it too. Yes, I mean sometimes I have companies, brands. I work with Jägermeister, or if you work with a brand like Hard Rock Cafe, or if there's Arnold Schwarzenegger or other people. Oh, I just had something to do with Jaguar. Then you have to consider like the corporate, like the corporate identity of that brand. You have to think about that brand, what fits with that brand. But lucky enough, these brands, I always say, Tom, just think about our brand and do whatever you want to. And they never persuade me to do anything else, actually. So I'm very lucky with that. But I actually create the work for myself. Yeah, I'm happy that other people like it. And if I could live from that, I'd still do it as a hobby. But it's I like it, and it's good.
So how has social media impacted the way you create your work?
It's a necessary evil, which I appreciate at the same time, because honestly, I wish that was not there, because it distracts me from my work a lot. Because I have this with me to listen to music and whatever. I turned off notifications already, that doesn't beep in my ear, but still, with social media and being successful probably in social media, you get so much feedback all the time, and so I tried not to focus on my phone or anything, and I tried to stick to my work. But again, without social media, I wouldn't be there where I am right now. So at first I thought, these stories that I do, at first I thought, come on, where do I take my time to be on Instagram all the time, every day? How do you do that? I mean, it's just, annoying. And after of course, receiving good feedback, it's always nice to get a pat on the back. Hey, that's really cool. It's fun what you do. You get encouraged of doing that, and now it kind of becomes something very normal. And now it's just something like my brother always says, he lives in Finland. He says, I'm happy that there's Tommy TV, because without Tommy TV, I wouldn't know what Tommy is up to all the time. So he and a bunch of Finnish friends of his, they watch Tommy TV. So I mainly do it for the Tommy TV people and for myself, because it's just fun. And I tried not to have any secrets in front of anybody. So it's just authentic Tommy life there, in short.
Yeah, I like it because it makes you very approachable.
Thanks.
And it makes you very fun. Like, you seem like a very fun person. Like,
it's just me. And sometimes I try to crack a joke, and it's just funny in my head. I speak it, I watch it on Instagram in the evening, and I go like, come on, man, that's not funny at all. Why?
Well, I enjoy your stories. I very much do.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for patting me on the back. What an ego shower. Ah, yes, it's good for my ego.
So do you think your work translates well online?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's always better, of course, to see it in real life. A lot of people, they say, oh, that's very interesting, I want to buy it, but I want to see it in real. So they come into the studio and then check it out. Or if they're overseas, they buy prints of it, or we send them prints larger, and then they look at it and they go like, okay, I want to buy it. But online, it's also fun to show my work online, because it's with the social media factor, you can see the process of development. So probably that's one of the benefits.
Is there anything you'd like to achieve with your work that you haven't achieved yet?
Yes. I want to, of course, I'd really like to collaborate with a really large, good fashion brand. I also want to focus on one series of artworks, like for an entire year. I'd like to paint on one series for 1 year and then exhibit that series in a museum. I'm working on a similar. No, well, I'm working on this "I Fucking Love You" series where I paint over discs, and that is something that should be shown in a museum next year. So it's kind of something that I'm very much looking forward to, and then there are always new opportunities just around the corner. There's so many things I think of. I have so many books of like sketchbooks. If I wouldn't have one single new idea, I could live from all the ideas that I have in my sketchbooks for 2 or 4 lives that I wouldn't have. So there's still so much stuff going on that I want to do. Yes, yes.
So, what do you think the role of the artist in this contemporary era is?
I think right now within the Corona and COVID-19 world is just for artists to brighten up the world a bit, to convey a very positive feeling, a trust into a very unknown future right now. Trust into yourself. I think right now contemporary artists should just enlighten life right now. I think yeah, that's what I think right now. Mm-hmm.
And do you think that if nobody saw your work, would you still create it?
Of course. If I sometimes I have this thought of what would happen if I'd be this Robinson Crusoe person, Tom Hanks, on this castaway island. What would it do on that island? And you'd be stuck there, and I'd still try to figure out a way how to sculpture something into the rocks and the walls for myself. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why people in these stone ages painted. They just painted for themselves. They wouldn't. I don't think that they said, "Oh yeah, let's do something that it's there for the next couple thousand years for other people." No, I think they did it for themselves, just for the fun of it, and that's also the reason why I do what I do. Mm-hmm.
That's a very good response. I think that's it's quite an honest response as well. I think because some people were like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, I'll still create," or like, "No, I wouldn't," because I've had people say they wouldn't create, which I think is quite interesting as well.
I know some of them too. Yeah, and it's also totally legit for them. But I because I was there already once. I painted because I painted for myself. I didn't paint for anybody else. I painted for myself. So I still paint only for myself. And then, of course, after I'm gone, my ancient relatives, they'd go like, what should we do with all that crap of Tom Lohner, who thought he'd be an artist? Doesn't matter. They can throw it away. They can burn it. I don't care. I paint for myself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Well,
I think we'll probably wrap it up soonish. I know that you're all busy.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's I'm on time.
Let me quickly ask you.
Of course.
Let me quickly ask you a couple more questions, and then we'll go. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay?
Of course. Go for it. Yeah.
That's perfect.
I still have time. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, but if you don't, let me know because I don't want to overrun it.
No. Go for it. That's cool. It's good if we can wrap it up. I don't know. Maybe they come in late, but we still have 12, 15.
But yeah, we'll wrap up. Yeah, we'll wrap up in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So. Yes. Okay. So, what do you think your work says about you?
Crazy mind. I think that it says, he does something like that on this painting. He does something totally different again on that painting, but he likes to dig into a lot of color and paint. And I hope it says that I'm a very I'm a very energetic person. I hope it translates in my art. That's what I think and what I hope for. So that's also one of the reasons why I like to, just to have, lines and electricity over here again with the goddess of electricity, and then some intricate little small things again, because I want people to go, wow, I've never seen something like that in my life. And then when they look at the painting for the second, third, fourth, or fifth time, that they still discover new things that they haven't seen before.
And do you think there's a difference between somebody who makes art and somebody who is an artist?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I think that there are these, I know of artists I'm exaggerating here, but no, actually, I don't think that I'm exaggerating, because I really know artists that they, I'm not in the mood of painting right now. No, I don't feel like it right now. Where's my muse? And I have to drink 8 glasses of red wine with 8 tequilas in a row, and then I feel, yes, I feel the muse right now. And then they take the brush and go like, I wasn't there yet. And then there are painters and people who create art, and they are there to create the art because they want to paint right now. They just feel it, and they gotta put it onto a canvas or a piece of wood or whatever. And that are really, people that just do it because they have the urge of doing it. They don't want to be an art personality or so. And very often, though, art personality, art persona, and luckily great work is combined within one person. So there's also the artist who also creates good work. So it fuses and works in a way, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think really the final question probably to ask you would be, what are you currently working on, and where can people find more about you and your work?
I am currently working on a couple of things. My main piece is number 2 of that series, I Fucking Love You. It's that piece that on discs, painted on discs. You can feel the paint. Feels really good. So I'm working on that right now. Within a couple of other pieces. What, Klaus? No, I finished that already. What's the stuff that I'm working on right now? Yeah, that. Also Aaron, he's on Instagram. He knows my work very well. No, and then there's also a small piece that I'm working on right now, and a couple of fun projects that I'll be working on from home during Christmas vacation. But you can find, it's very easy. You can find my work on my website, www.tomlohner.com, or on Instagram with just my name, Tom Lohner, TOMLOHNER.
That's absolutely perfect. I seriously appreciate you doing this and your time, because I know your time is very valuable.
But so is your time.
I really appreciate it.
So is your time. Yeah. It is.
Yeah. But I really appreciate it. Honestly, it's been an absolute honor. It's actually generally been an honor for me. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You can always reach out to me if you have more questions.
Oh, absolutely.
We can do another meeting soon again.
Yeah, but I'd love to do it again. If you'll be up for it, I'll totally be up for it. That concludes my interview with Tom Lohner. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any comments or questions, please shoot me an email at theflowingfruitbowl@gmail.com. Also, the Flowing Fruit Bowl audio interviews are available on platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music. So if you like the show, please support it by subscribing or sharing with friends. As well as these audio interviews, I run theflowingfruitbowl.co.uk, which is a daily art inspiration website. If you're a fan of art and are looking to be inspired, please check it out. And if you're a creative, please get in touch for a chance to be featured or interviewed. Once again, thanks very much for listening, and until next time folks, please stay safe.